What's going on today is the 4th of July, 2023, almost 10 a.m. Tuesday. Happy 4th of July to everyone. The quote for today from my extension is "You can't do it unless you imagine it." Guess who said that? George Lucas, the guy behind Star Wars. I guess, yeah, you got to think about something before you actually do. Some people think a little bit more than others, but yeah, there is always that think before act aspect to the way we live. Anyway, one thing I'm gonna go through today, and it's focused on Code Academy and the giant mistakes and successes, lessons from growing revenue from 10 million to 50 million dollars. That's the title of the article from Dan Layfield. Dan led growth at Code Academy before it sold to Skillsoft last year for $525 million. And yeah, he says here in the article, my real motivation here is to help the companies that have achieved a good product market fit and have yet to figure out how to make money. To survive in the long term, you need to do both, and plenty of great products have died because they didn't build out the business side fast enough. These lessons directly apply to freemium slash SaaS businesses and probably apply to other recurring revenue businesses such as subscription, e-commerce, agencies, consulting, etc. I plan to cover the following: the mistakes we made and lessons we learned, the most effective levers we found at each layer of the business: payments, churn reduction, extending life cycles of users, pricing and packaging, trials slash paywalls. All right, so what's the company context? He goes a little bit deeper into how Code Academy worked. So Code Academy, for those unfamiliar, is a B2C tech education platform that focuses on taking total beginners and getting them to medium level of technical skills. I have used Code Academy myself for a brief moment. I wouldn't say I'm a fan of the product, but anyway, the company started in 2011 and built what I think is the best free learn to code product online. That's from Dan. All advice in quotation in quotes really depends on the context that it's coming from. Here is where we were at as a company in roughly 2017. All right, so very strong, low cost, free user acquisition driven by the free product, excellent brand name, and strong SEO ranking. Product market fit in the free product for users who are early stage learners, i.e., not professional software engineers. Short intermittent usage patterns across all users. Example, they show up for a few weeks, months to learn something, then leave for a while, then maybe come back in a few months slash years. Not the best use case, but a solid one. And lastly, a paid product that was built but was still being figured out. TLDR, we had a lot of free users, but we're terrible at converting them to paid and monetizing them. So the final bit of context is that I am a product manager. So anyway, not important. So things we screwed up. That's the title of the subsection, or I guess the following section in the article. So the most memorable were, number one, not understanding what an A/B test is versus just shipping it. So as Dan says, when we first tried to set up an A/B testing program, we got too lost in the concept of measuring all the impacts that we're having and not making any assumptions. That was dumb. We debated if we should have a pricing page on the site and how we might measure that impact. I remember that adding a pricing page to the header had a small to medium size impact on conversion, which is great in theory. However, I would consider that one a loss, as we should have had this in the header the whole time. All right, so I guess overthinking things in business versus A/B testing, whatever process. No, just ship it, see what happens. Number two, things that they screwed up: launching giant projects without enough due diligence. The flip side is that you should not assume that A/B testing is an excuse not to do the due diligence you need on big projects. We shipped 3 different pricing page layouts to see which was more effective. I think it took 2 months to run, was super expensive from a design and engineering perspective, blocked other tests, and we didn't learn anything in the end. All right. Number 3, thinking of ideas that were fun or fancy. One of the tenets of growth is that you should be able to test any idea you have a solid hypothesis behind. While I think this is valuable, it's way more important to start with a solid foundation of best practices in your area. The fancy, in quotes, ideas such as running Subway ads or partnering with influencer only work if you have a solid funnel to drive this traffic into. I guess it's self-explanatory. Number 4 on the list is working in the wrong areas of the application. As I mentioned above, we redesigned our pricing page twice before realizing that a very small percentage of users purchase right from that page. Most are purchased right from the product itself without going back to pricing. Number 5, not iterating on good ideas that didn't work out the first time. So in retrospect, we moved on too quickly from ideas that we had decent confidence in that didn't work the first time. If you are hitting a real customer problem, you did your research, and B1 isn't working out, then I would take another shot. Yeah, I guess that's very, very important, because it's not even about like taking another shot right after it didn't work out, but maybe putting that idea on the shelf and coming back to it 6 months later when, I don't know, your user base is a bit more mature, or there's some breakthrough in technology, like say, I don't know, like ChatGPT came out or something. Don't, like, I would just have to keep like I'll have like a Notion page with like good ideas that failed, and checking on them every quarter or every 6 months. Number 6 is not implementing best practices fast enough. As mentioned above, if you don't A/B test the basics, just ship them. Combining this with the friction of getting all the necessary tooling set up, learning how to run an A/B testing program, and building out the team, this wasn't our best year. Additionally, B2C SaaS and subscription businesses can be tricky to grow for a few reasons, especially when paired with a free product/tier. So these businesses can take a lot longer to grow because you aren't going to close a big enterprise contract, and scaling paid media is more challenging. Number 2, the value of capture from users is spread across their life cycle. So being confident about your LTV, so lifetime value, and the spending in marketing channels is hard. Not impossible, but hard. Anytime you do something like test new pricing, which you should, you can't really know the impact on LTV because those new users haven't reached the end of their life cycle. Then when you are also running a big free product, it's hard to run direct response style paid media effectively, as you can't really prevent users from finding the free product. Yeah, it's a big one, I guess. Understanding payback periods for ad spend gets more challenging when they might spend variable amounts of time in the free tier based on the audience. So all this, just to sum it up, it's like, cool, you've got a very successful free product, and then you're starting to monetize it. It's very tricky to measure even like how this new monetization channel or tactic, whatever, works, because the free product is so successful. All right, what are the big lessons from them? So recurring revenue businesses are basically structured like this diagram. He shows a cool diagram. I put the link in the show notes. And yeah, many companies go wrong because they only focus on making acquisition cheaper and faster when you should have been systematically improving LTV to avoid higher acquisition costs. There is a Dan Kennedy quote, which is something like, "The business that can pay the most to acquire the customer will win." What does that mean? I'm not sure, but hopefully he's going to explain it to us in a second. So assuming you don't have a bunch of VC money to light on fire, and even if you do, the best chance that you have in the long term is figuring out to better monetize each monthly cohort of users and increase your overall LTV, which will allow you to spend more to acquire more customers profitably. Here is what I would advise companies in a similar place to do. This is a path towards reliably making improvements, not seeing giant lifts. Important caveat. All right. Number one, figure out monetization early in your product/company's life. Everything gets more expensive to change the longer you wait. It involves convincing people, changing more code, retraining more sales, customer service people, etc. Every cohort you under-monetize during your early years is money you never get back. Yes, that's so important. I lived through this, and it was a bitch. Like, yeah, great hockey stick growth. We're getting all these users, growing in every market, lighting up a lot of VC money, um, but no answer to the questions like, how do you guys make money? Which created confusion for some users. Some people refused to get on the product even though it added a lot of value to their business because they were mesmerized and just didn't, or this, there was no trust because there was no clear answer to like how you're gonna actually make money off of this. Are you selling my data? So uh and then changing the whole, like, especially the changing the code and like convincing people, retraining the sales. Yeah, just like I felt this. I went through this, and yeah, it's very very important. Just like monetize early, have a business um, strategy figured out. Have your business strategy figured out. Anyway, number two, while speed is essential in all businesses, it's extra important in subscription businesses. So, subscription businesses are slower to scale than most B2B businesses because most of your customers will pay incrementally across their lifecycle, and you are not likely to close a big enterprise account that allows you to collect a lot of cash upfront. Because of this, every missed cohort of users you didn't monetize well is lost forever. The faster you get the best practices running, the more revenue you'll have to compound in the following years. Don't overthink the fundamentals. All right. Number three, work from the bottom of the funnel upwards unless you have a good reason not to. Your active paying users are hands down the most valuable to you. You don't want to lose them for things like payment failures that could have been prevented. If you are in a company that drives decisions based on A/B tests, you will be beholden to a concept called minimum detectable effect, MDE. So what is MDE? Well, MDE is the smallest lift you can measure with statistical significance, which basically translates to confidence. So if you have a high MDE, say 20%, you will ship a test that improves something by 19.99%. You won't be able to measure with statistical significance. There are ways of compensating for this, but this makes testing hard. The worse overall conversion is, the larger the MDE will be, which makes A/B testing harder. But the upside is that improving things at the bottom of your funnel will lower, a good thing, the MDE, which raises the accuracy of your ability to measure things above in the funnel. All right, so MDE and working from the bottom of the funnel upwards unless you have a good reason not to. Number four on the list for the big lessons is it's hard to convince people to pay you money. So start by finding all the people that are trying to pay you, and it's not working. So find all the dead ends and confusions across your product and fix those. Ensure the checkout page error states are clear, that any payment integrations aren't broken in specific browsers, etc. Are the bugs that happen during certain edge cases in important parts of the app? I guess this is pretty self-explanatory. Try to keep complexity low. Your goal is to keep development and operational speed fast. So check that any changes you make are worth the maintenance costs. For example, suppose you find that setting up custom price structures per country raises revenue. From now on, the finance team will need to build multiple models to forecast revenue. The customer service needs a simple sets of auto response, etc. So maybe don't go there unless you're going to really break the bank with introducing more complexity, especially in the revenue streams. All right, number six, big lessons. Focus where most users are and focus on improving clarity. I think the last part is very important. I'm going to let you know why in a sec. So try to find the places in your product that most users are converting from and ensure that you are setting context correctly the step before. one of our most successful tests on our homepage changed the primary call to action from start coding to sign up. Most of the time, we were cute with copy or messaging. It hurt us, and it's dumb. So I think also just in general as a business person or in as a professional, trying to be quirky, funny, cute, whatever. I think like creative in your writing and your messaging could work, but also could bite you in the ass. So uh, yeah, don't go start coding. Just go sign up. Like, what's the usual? What's the best practice? Look for best practices and implement them, copy them. Because that works, I guess. In conclusion, setting up the basics of monetization system makes a world of difference as your company grows. The cohorts that sign up and don't monetize are likely gone forever, so it really, really pays to set up a strong foundation. If you can get to a place where a strong checkout page, pricing structure, paywall, payment processing, and churn appeasements, then you'll be better than 90% of early stage companies. All right, I've just read this article and commented on it for you in the past 16 minutes, 15 minutes. But the biggest takeaway here is, yeah, when you start a business, and I think the reality uh, of of uh, of the market is, yeah, you won't have all this VC money to light up. Maybe some AI startups will, but overall, don't focus just on getting the product and out there and getting users. Like, really focus on the business side. I don't know if that's going to stifle innovation or what's the impact of that because that wasn't really a thing for the past, what, decade or so. But yeah, I fully subscribe to the what Dan said in this article. Anyway, that's it for today. Going back to the quote again, you can't do it unless you imagine it. George Lucas. Take care.